afternoon. Welcome to today's edition of The Buzz, your social media program on television. It's Wednesday, midweek, and it's the 8th of May, 2019. My name is Patience Belukafo. I welcome you to today's program. Joining me at the table, I have a regular panelist here. Michael Udiong is here with us. He's a media practitioner and also a media and social critic. Good afternoon, Michael.
Good afternoon.
Great to have you here.
Nice.
You're representing your people today.
Yes, I have to. I mean, I have to.
The Cross River people are Akwa Ibom.
No, Akwa Ibom.
Akwa Ibom.
Akwa Ibom.
Okay. So what do you call this cap?
It is known as Dakada cap.
Dakada?
Yes.
What's Dakada? I know Daka is komot.
No, Dakada is stand up.
Stand up.
It's a new way of saying, as a people, we need to stand up and face the challenges.
Wow. And the cap is standing.
And you need a standing cap.
Yes.
So Dakada, welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you very much.
All right. Joining Michael Udiong at the table is also Mr. Christopher Otaigbe. He is a renowned broadcaster himself and also a social commentator, amongst other things. Good afternoon, Mr. Otaigbe.
Good afternoon. Unfortunately, I'm not here with my own Dakada cap.
No, welcome to the show. And of course, we have the indefatigable Mr. Shegun Shopito, always here. Regardless, always here. Of course, you and I know what you had to do this morning to make it to the show. I do appreciate that, sir. Mr. Shopito is a business and financial consultant. He's also chairman, board of trustees, ACTS Network, a good governance advocacy group. Welcome, Mr. Shopito.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
All right, welcome viewers. 0802-836-8971 still remains the number to use to send in your contributions via SMS only. We'll begin the show with trending news. Sharia court to chop off hands and legs of 10 people, stone 5 to death in Bauchi State. The controller of prisons, Bauchi State Command, Suleiman T. Suleiman, has said that 5 persons who were sentenced to death by stoning and 10 others whose legs and hands are to be amputated are awaiting the day of judgment. Suleiman, who spoke in an interview with newsmen in his office on Tuesday, said the state of prison in Bauchi is really bad. He also lamented that some convicts have been in jail for over 10 years with action not taken on them. He said 6 other inmates have also been condemned to death. 5 are currently on life sentence, while 188 are on various jail terms of 2 years and above. He lamented that the prison currently has 947 inmates at the 500 capacity Bauchi prison. Wow. Okay, let me allow Michael to start this conversation.
For me, it's the usual conversation, nothing out of the ordinary. But it's high time we really know what we want. Do we want a barbaric nation? Do we want a civilized and developed nation? We must be able to be sure about what we want. And then the government must stand for what we want. We say we practice federal system of government. And I really ask myself, do we really understand what federal system of government means? Now, you have issues where you have congested prisons. People are waiting trials. There are some that are innocent. And yet we have a judicial system that is not living up to its expectations. So for whatever reason, there's nothing stopping any state from having, whether it's Sharia or whatever, it is what they want. Definitely you can't bring such to southeast or southwest or south-south. So it is what you want. If the people agree with that, let them do that. Wow. But the problem is you have a prison that is so congested that a lot of people, even innocent people, are there awaiting trial. What kind of judicial system do we have to make sure that we decongest those prisons? Justice is done. So that's a major problem for me.
Right. Okay, let's bring in Mr. Otaigbe. I mean, we are still amputating hands and legs and stoning people to death. You know, I find that piece of news quite shocking, even though I do know that, you know, in the Sharia states, you know, those are like the norm.
But the thing we need to look at is, I really, if that is like you said, if that is a kind of judicial, whatever they have chosen for their lives, they have adopted, okay. But let it go round, okay? They are big thieves, they are in Abuja. Why are they not taking them there to go and stone? Somebody used how much to go and sweep or cut grass? He's there, everybody has seen him. The other person the other day collected bribe, and we can see the video is forever there. Why are they not stoning them? Why are they not amputating their head? Was it the head that you put the dollar or whatever? Do you know? So I think the whole thing is bordering for me to a joke. Because if you check out those, they are going to, whose legs and arms they are going to amputate, perhaps the fellow stole goats or stole something negligible.
And it's out of hunger.
Out of hunger.
You know?
Caused by the guy who went to cut grass with of their own people, IDP camp, with over 200 plus million, and then the other guy collecting bribe that will have, you know, for projects he will have used to better their lives, you know, to prevent hunger from catching them. See, there's no justice. Even the Sharia they are talking about, as far as I'm concerned, the guy who started Sharia, who made Sharia popular at that time, what's his name? The Zamfara governor, that Yerima. We know what he did. He made Sharia popular, but he himself violated Sharia in so many ways. So what are we talking about? As far as I'm concerned, I think the government, if I keep saying government, I have to really watch my mouth. You know, somebody needs to put order in this country. That's the way even countries where they practice Sharia, there's some kind of equity. There's some level of equity. There's some... You know, so that when the Sharia justice comes to you, you know you deserve it. Okay. And you will take it.
Okay, Mr. Shopito.
Well, I think with this issue, we've got to be balanced and circumspect. The Sharia law is a law that is grounded on the Muslim faith and all of that. And I know that there are countries across the world where that is their law. So if you go to Saudi Arabia, for instance, and you mess up, you know what fate is awaiting you. It's clear. There is no ambiguity and no doubt, you know, and all that. They execute you, and that's that. So if we practice a federal system, like Michael has said, then let's practice it. So if some parts of the country have voted or agreed in whatever manner, either through the House of Assembly or whatever, to say that Sharia law is what they subscribe to, as long as it doesn't violate the Constitution, I have no problems with it. There was a controversy when it came about during President Obasanjo's era, and he felt, oh, it's going to die off a natural death, so he laughed it off. But it's not died, and it's become a part of that society. If it is the law there and it's accepted, then so be it. The only concern that I would raise is those people that are being subjected to the Sharia law. Have they been given fair hearing according to that law? Has the process been followed all through? So perhaps human rights people need to go into that, look at it. If that has been done, then, you know, if you live in a Sharia state, please abide by the laws of the Sharia, and you know you are bound by it. Then abide by the law, so you don't have your arms chopped off. Okay. It's unfortunate. I don't like it, but
very unfortunate. You know, and I used to think, you know, that the Sharia, according to when judgment is given according to Sharia law, is immediate.
No, there's an appeal.
Yeah,
there's a provision for appeal. Until now,
because people have been given judgment, but they are still.
But even in this story, even though there is provision for appeal, in this story now, there doesn't seem to be that process.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
They just put them in prison.
We hope that they've been put through the proper process and justice has been done, even under that law.
Okay, all right, let's go on. There's a particular video of a Nigerian police officer that's been training for about a week now. Of course, it's nothing new to see our revered police officers collecting bribes on the roads. But this one took for me, it's on another level. I don't know about you, but let's go see the video. We'll come back.
ọmọ ayé ni ẹyẹ pọ̀ láyé ni òbí farabalẹ̀ kọ́ máa jí mọ́tò gbé kọ́ máa jalè ọlọ́run kan support yẹ èmi faramọ́ ó máa pé àdìmọ́nì yẹn á pèsè we are for a number wàá gbọ́dọ̀ láyọ̀ tàlàfíà gbogbo ilé ẹ̀ka tí mo sọ yẹ kí n ṣe pé agbọ́dọ̀ ṣẹ́ẹ̀kì tó yẹ ká ṣe nọ́mà. orí ẹ̀ ọmọ ayé ni ẹyẹ pọ̀ láyé ni òbí farabalẹ̀ kọ́ máa jí mọ́tò gbé kọ́ máa jalè ọlọ́run gan support yẹ èmi fara mọ́ ó máa pé àdìmọ́ni yẹn á pèsè we are for a number wàá gbọ́dọ̀ láyọ̀ tàlàfíà gbogbo ilé ẹ̀ka tí mo sọ yẹ kí n ṣe pé a gbọ́dọ̀ ṣẹ́ẹ̀kì tó yẹ ká ṣe nọ́mà. orí ẹ̀
For me, that's the most ridiculous, the most, I don't know, embarrassment doesn't even begin to describe this. That is a police officer that should be upholding the law, telling someone that, come ajimoto gbe, come ajale, Ọlọ́run won't support it. If you don't speak Yoruba, let me just translate. To snatch cars and to steal, to rob, God is in support, according to the police.
As long as you do
as
what...
long as you do what you're supposed to do.
You do normal.
I am, you know, like we're saying behind, you know, before we came on air, that this is not new, you know. But, you know, when you hear a police officer of the law say something like this, recorded, look, the only thing I've got to say is that that guy has to go. His face is in that video, and I'm sure that if they get a proper video analyst, expert, they can get his name. That guy has to go. If that guy, if heads don't roll on this, then I'm sorry, the police is finished. We know what the police is. We know, you know, and I know they're watching this program, so it's time that they do something about it. This is appalling. How can a police officer say something? Of course, he didn't know that it was being recorded. You know, so which makes it good. So that is how I've never heard a police officer say anything like that to my own hearing before.
Crime.
Yes, to actually justify. I've never heard it. Yes, I mean, I've been in situations where, you know, they're extorting and whatever, but to justify it and say it in such a flippant, nonchalant manner is horrible, is barbaric. I don't know what adjectives we want to use, and there must be consequence.
Okay.
This has to stop.
Okay.
Well, what you have seen, that is one guy who has just voiced, thanks to God, voiced the mindset that runs through virtually most of the rank and file. Because he would not say that if there is no kind of unwritten agreement, unwritten understanding among that lot. What you're seeing now, even if his head rolls and the chain on that his axis roll, what about the rest? This is not just one egg, one bad apple spoiling the whole bunch. This is just one of the rotten bad bunch. One of the many, plenty rotten in the whole basket. We are in trouble. That's the fact. Right. Listen, you know, let me be modest. The recruitment into the Nigerian police force today is not normal. Okay? We hear now that people pay to enter the force. In fact, there are grades of payment. If you want to be posted to the street, there's an amount you pay. If you want to stand by somebody, the rich man, there's an amount you pay. If you want to, if you don't want to be, you know, Yoruba would say lele, you know, if you don't want to be, you know, pushed aside.
So you can actually come in and determine
where you want to go.
Okay.
And really, the very important thing I want to say here is that, unfortunately for us, at some point, even the criminals, the armed robbers, had to start putting people in the force. Oh, that you must know that. They had to start putting in the force. So really, we are not sure what we have.
Okay.
We are not sure. I'm sorry.
Well, I would simply say this, according to Uncle Jimmy, this second base. We are tired of hearing this. This is not new. So what is the big deal? We know the procedures. We know the processes. When a police man sits down with stout to drink beer in uniform with gun, what else would you expect?
I mean,
what else would you expect? So it's a normal thing. It's just second base. Let us hear until the federal government decides that let us change that act of 1945 that established the Nigerian police. Then we know that we will take things serious. But as long as we remain there, let's just continue the jollification and pray to God that He is the only savior of our lives. We are not dependent on the police.
Okay, all right. Like I said, I mean, that video actually, that's ridiculousness on another level for me.
Yes.
For a police officer. I mean,
No,
matter how
Patience.
bad the force is,
No,
there
Patience,
should still be some
yes, sorry.
sort of dignity.
Yes, I need to say this. I need to say this. I would apologize for generalization.
Okay.
It does not mean that we do not have
we have
good
good
people
in
in
the
the
force.
police
We
force.
have.
Yes.
We have very wonderful professional policemen.
I agree.
But unfortunately, you have more of the bad eggs that are outside, spoiling the name of those that are inside.
Yes. I
So
get that.
we must have to check those
to,
bad
to
eggs.
even make it worse, the population of the good guys may be depleting because the encouragement and the incentives to make the good guys remain good
It's not there.
not there.
No, it's not only that the encouragement and incentive is not there, it's that there is a strong disincentive for being good. So there's a point where you get to as a upright, righteous, and good policeman,
You even
where
need to
you
be-
are under threat.
You're under threat.
Actually
So
under
it's
threat.
either you join them
I
or
mean,
you leave
you
the
know,
police
so-
force.
Okay, I do know because I've walked into some police stations and I do see their TV sets is always on Galaxy, so I know they're watching at this point. Please, let's do something about this. It's becoming something else. I mean, when police officers throw away every form of decorum, every form of decency, and just go down that low. I mean, no, it doesn't speak well
See,
of us
I have
at
spoken,
all.
I
What
called
needs to
in,
be done
I,
has to be done.
I just remembered one thing. I called, you know, they give out numbers. To go. I called one number one time and I said to that person that on this particular route that I pass, you people said there is no more checkpoints. I mean, but on this particular route at this particular time, these guys always surface. Despite that announcement. And the guy said, okay, we'll do something about it. And I'll say, oh, thank God, at least they are working. I didn't go home that night. On my way the next time, they were there. And I asked your other man, just like you said, they have numbers. I said, at this city, they are there. Oh. Once it is 9, they are there. And when they are there, they'll give you number. I said, what's your own number today? They say, I think that I'm number 13. I remember very well, number 13. So it's something that we just have to pray to God to help us
Okay.
out.
All right, let's move it along. 0802-836-8971 is still the number to use. Revenue collection on the highways. The practice by state and local government officials of collecting revenues on the highways has been declared illegal. Let me put again, in brackets. For years now, it's become a standard practice for both state and local government officials to relay people who travel on the highways in order to collect revenue. Indeed, not only have state and local governments condoned such practices across the country, they have in fact perfected them in the name of revenue drive. Happily though, the illegality of that practice has now been made official. Henceforth, anyone who collects revenue on the highways in the name of a state or local government will be made to account for such an action. The latest directive from the federal government through the Ministry of Transport says nobody has the right to block the highways except the security agencies during emergency situations. Therefore, the ministry has called on the security agencies to arrest any official of the state and local government caught impeding traffic on the highways anywhere in the country under the guise of revenue collection. All right, gentlemen, I mean, this official directive we all know is long overdue. I mean, it's been like an off and on thing. They come out and declare it illegal, but we know what happens after that. So at the risk of this one going down the same route, is this something we should be excited about? Meanwhile, those who actually use the highway, more than you and I, the drivers of the articulated vehicles and all of that, always been complaining about harassment on the highways by local and state government officials. Let's go see this clip. We'll come back and talk.
The drivers, while speaking on the development, commended the federal government for the decision to disband local government revenue collectors on federal highways. The drivers alleged that the continuous presence of local government revenue collectors has brought untold hardship to them, adding that some drivers have lost their lives while trying to escape from revenue collectors who, in the course of manning the roads, brutalized them, resulting in casualties.
We thank God as a federal government just feel commanding for road. We say we bless the Buhari and Inspector General of Police.
They started work from 6 till 6 o'clock in the evening. Because of that now, our driver decide to avoid them, to run night. And that night cause accident mostly. A driver who supposed to sleep because of the airplane, he will not sleep. Most of accident you see, most of the lorry are getting is because of all this airplane. No other thing that causing it.
We pay yearly more than 60,000, and at the end of the year, the sticker will not correct. I'm started molesting driver, beat driver unnecessarily like that. Even when you get to some area in Bayelsa now, they call it waterside. They extract money anyhow. They will just come and print one sticker like that. They say you have to pay. Then you don't call police, or maybe you run to police station. Police will just say, no, go and meet them. Oh. We don't need their trouble. We don't need their trouble.
All right. Oh, no. Gentlemen, that's where we are. This is not the first time we'll be hearing the government saying it's illegal. But then the officials are always on the highways. What exactly is the issue here? We'll start with you, Mr. Shopito. Let's start from that end of the table.
Look, this country is a very funny country, and we have so many anomalies and abnormalities living in broad daylight, in open display, in full view of everybody, authorities, government officials. We experience all of these things all the time and nothing happens. How the guy in the Ministry of Transportation thinks that his pronouncement will suddenly make this problem go away, it beats the living daylight out of me. I don't understand. It's a systemic problem. And it's a problem that is so entrenched that a pronouncement will not take it away. It started with the local government. They would waylay vehicles, branded vehicles, and ask for, what they used to call that thing, there's this sticker that they give, mobile adverts. They had them, radio and TV and all of that. And if you are traveling from Lagos to Benin, once you get to Shagamu, or at those major junctions, they're there, and then they just jump on the road with their spikes and they stop you. It happens. I've traveled wide across this country by road, so I've experienced this everywhere. Port Harcourt, Aba, everywhere. I've experienced it personally when I used to travel a lot. So it's something that has been there for years, for decades, and what's driving it is corruption. Driven by the desire for these guys to raise money. This money they're raising is not going into government coffers, by the way. It's going through a hierarchy that goes all the way to the top. So now, something that is driven by self-interest of people in authority, people in government, you now make a pronouncement and say it's illegal. Sorry, it's not going to go away. I find it a bit disturbing that now the state governments have now joined in the jamboree, and they are now also sending touts, because that's what I call them.
Yeah, they're touts.
You know, if you want to tax, there are proper ways of taxing. If you feel that you want to charge people for certain things on the road, put up a toll. That's how it's done in normal societies. You put a toll gate, and then as people are passing through, they pay, and you know what you're paying for. So it's formal, it's official, it's orderly. But when you send goons and touts out there, I wonder now, when you say it's illegal, let me ask the gentleman that is saying it's illegal, that is now pronouncing it as illegal, Ministry of Transportation, who is going to pronounce that illegality when the poor truck driver in that roundabout in Aba is stopped, is he going to tell them, oh, Ministry of Transportation has said this thing is illegal, I'm not paying you?
Who protects him?
I mean, are you kidding me? In fact, right there with that guy, there will be policemen helping him to push through that illegality. So what are we talking about? This is just talk, as is usual with our government people. Every time a new IG comes on board, they will say that checkpoints are going away, and they're still there till tomorrow, just like, you know, we've attested. So look, it's just talk. I have absolutely no confidence in fact, I think our government should stop these jokes. It's a joke on our intelligence for somebody in the Ministry of Transport to say, suddenly declare that this is illegal. If you want to stop it, you know what to do. They take it on from within the system. They have meetings with their own officials. There's an association of local government chairmen, for God's sake, in this country. The governors have where they meet. The ministers of finance have where they meet. The commissioners of finance, know where they meet. So you can take it on from within the system and uproot it if they really mean to uproot it. But when you just go on air or on press statement and say it's illegal, you're just playing on our intelligence, and I think they should stop it.
Michael, I know you can't wait to jump in. So jump in.
I'm not jumping in. For me, I said second base. This one is third base.
It's third base.
I said just go to third base.
What's the point?
There's nothing. What are we? On my way to office every morning, I see these touts on Amuwa Dofin stopping articulated vehicles, petrol tankers, truck drivers. They stop them and make sure that they collect the so-called revenue. And the police is there watching everybody. So what are we saying? The people that are supposed to protect the laws are the ones breaking the laws. So me, am I a local government official or a state government official? I will not go. If I tell you that, oh, they banned it, what is it? They will just look at you and laugh and say, which law be that one?
Oga be going.
Now you sabi the law pass me.
Oga be going. Come on,
because it's not about you. They don't care about you. They are still the ones collecting the money. So if you come and tell me that, oh, that law has been banned, it's just like August. It's a big joke. So it's third base for me. I'm tired of these things until we find practical solutions, and the federal government, both federal and state government, are ready to restructure a lot of things. We will still be in this place, and until we get right the ways we elect and appoint our leaders, it will still be the same story. As long as there's vote buying, as long as we have faulty electoral systems that bring in funny characters, then you cannot get it right.
Okay. All right, let me ask a question, if it's a question, really. These local government officials, state officials who go on the road to collect this money, they go in the guise of revenue drive, you know?
Revenue tax force.
Yes, they have receipts.
Yes.
And stickers, they go out. Now I'm thinking, under a state that has a ruling governor, you know, this kind of organized crime, because that's how I see it, you know, it's taking place.
Legitimized.
Yes, it's been legitimized to the extent that they even have documentation, you know, for it and all of that. What does that say for our system of government?
See, let us not mince words. When people say Nigeria is the most corrupt country, these are some of the indices.
Absolutely.
Number two, we are lawless. Finally, you know, when you want to say a country is broke, a country is lawless or whatever, you don't look at the guy in Aso Rock or the guy in the state. It's what you see on the road as you go. We are finally a lawless country. You know, when I heard it, that it was Amici, the Minister of Transport, who said it. The first thing that came to mind was to go to River State and said, Amici told you that they are banned, you know, illegal. Wike will say, go and bring that Amici for me. Let him come and tell me eyeball to eyeball. But I heard it was Bayelsa. That's still along the Niger. So listen, they have said it. It's a joke. That receipt is a joke. The sticker is another joke. Because you just put it on the next state you get to, you will remove that sticker, you add another sticker. Before you know it, you will have plastered all your windscreen with stickers. And paid. You know, but, you know, so to solve this problem, I know, really, the bottom line is this. They are pushing the system Not even the system. Forget the system. When you say the system is elevated. It's the crooks, criminals in the system, in position of authority, right? As governor, as whatever, local government chairman. These are the crooks inside the system. The system is always there. Do you understand? They are pushing the ordinary man. They are pushing him. And when the ordinary man gets up, the unfortunate thing with the Nigerian situation is that when any revolution breaks out, it's blind. Because you don't know, normal revolution would have a target. But in this case, it's virtually everywhere. So you don't know who you are going to meet. But definitely the poor man, the ordinary man, will get up to respond to this. And when they respond, God helps anybody. So they are gradually building that revolution by themselves, with their own hands. That revolution that we're all running away from. Because everybody is angry. And coupled with the hunger that you are going to meet, the joblessness around, do you understand? And you are putting this on their lives. It just shows that, technically you can almost say that there is an absence of governance in Nigeria today.
I mean, it makes no sense to me how, you in a place of authority, you put out a law out there, and almost immediately the law is being broken.
No, sorry. Let me even say this.
Nothing is done about it.
Let me even say this. They are legitimizing their crime with IGL. Go and improve your IGL. It's not a license to go to extort ordinary people.
That's laziness.
Exactly.
That's stupidity. That's criminal.
Well, I think on this other hand, politically, what has happened is those people that go to collect the revenues, these the tax force people who are touts and all those shady characters, is actually a job that has been able to make them not to come to your house and rob you.
Food for the dogs.
So instead of doing that, let us put them on the road, keep them busy, and extort money. Everybody goes home happy. So somehow, yes, it has been able to reduce crime rates because these are the people that are used to do these shady things.
No, it didn't reduce crime. It elevated it.
No, it has reduced crime in the sense that it would have been worse. They coming to your house to attack you
with guns.
But now you have a situation whereby they stand on the road and extort money. You understand? In the name of local government workers, tax force people. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, you do not see what they do with this money.
Well, there's something, if I may quickly chip in, there's something that has just happened, and I think I'm hoping it might help with this, because at the end of the day, the people responsible for this mostly are the local government officials. So I understand that effective 1st of June, that the local government revenues are going to be allocated to them directly. I think that's a fantastic development, even though on the other side of it, you want to make sure that local governments are accountable. But once you have that in place, then the incentive, unfortunately, I think that, with human beings generally, they've gotten so used to this system that
it's free money. So why would you want to stop free money?
That they're going to dismantle that. But the argument for anybody who wants to fight that phenomenon is made much stronger by the fact that your money now actually gets to you. So you have no incentive to say, I'm going to go and look for IGR. That's why they do those things, because the governor corners their revenue and gives them whatever he feels like, and they are left to go and fend for themselves in whatever way. So that's how this thing came about.
If they are serious, they want to stop this. Do you know what they need to do? President Muhammad Buhari needs to call a state council of state meeting with the NSA there, with all the security agencies there, and make that pronouncement that this is what we don't want again.
For it to carry some weight.
That's anyway. I make sure it's not
consequences.
It's fast running. My sister, let me tell you the sincere truth. A typical policeman have a target for his boss. His boss too has to give returns to his superior. He has to buy uniforms, boots, belts for himself. They have to buy fuel for their generators in their offices. All right, this other one says, good day, Galaxy TV. I love the buzz. Thank you. What will happen to the non-Muslims residing in those states that claim they practice Sharia? Jonah Bulus from Kaduna.
It doesn't apply to them.
Okay. If you're not a Muslim, Sharia law doesn't apply to you. Okay, let's move on to the next topic because of time, and it's on Nigeria's rising debt profile. I know Mr. Shopito has been waiting for this topic for a bit. Now, the issue of Nigeria's rising debt profile has always generated concerns, from across the nation's economic and financial spectrum. Not too long ago, some senators raised formal protest on the floor of the chambers over because our debt profile as contained in the 2019 appropriation bill. Last month, the Debt Management Office, DMO, said Nigeria's total debt as at December 31st, 2018 stood at 24.39 trillion, which represents a year-on-year growth of 12.25%. Also, the IMF too has also cautioned Nigeria and other developing countries on borrowing. Also, financial experts, from everywhere have tried to advise the federal government to check the rising external debt profile of the country. However, the federal government has repeatedly said that the country's rising debt profile was within manageable limits. Minister of Finance, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, said Nigeria's borrowing is still low compared to Ghana, Brazil, South Africa, Egypt, and Angola. Okay, now while the arguments, for or against borrowing, we could be on that for a very long time. But then, should we really be concerned, about our debt profile at this point? You are a financial expert, Mr. Shopito. Quickly.
We should be worried for just one reason. Our revenue profile is too low. So I have absolutely no problem with us borrowing. No problem. In fact, we need to borrow. I'm sorry to say, it's politically incorrect. We need to borrow. The things that need to be done, no country in the world develops based on internally generated funding alone. The United States of America, the most prosperous nation in the world, has debts in trillions of dollars.
18 trillion.
The issue for us is that we don't earn enough to service the debt. So what you have is you've got now the people that are in support of debt, where, for instance, Minister of Finance is saying so because they're looking at the debt to GDP ratio. And our debt to GDP ratio is very low, granted. However, you shouldn't be looking at that. You should be looking at your debt service to revenue ratio. How much do we make as a country? The federal government, let's remember we're talking about the federal government debt and then the subnational, the states. Federal government alone owes, I think it's about I've got the figures here. The figure that the federal government needs to use to service its debt is about 50% of the revenue that comes to the federal government. And that is terrible. Because what that means is that after you've paid your debt, you don't have any money left first to pay salaries, and then before you now start talking of capital projects. Exactly. So our whole finance situation is not tidy at all. The federal government needs to beef up our revenue generation mechanisms. We are leaking money to corruption and inefficiency. We don't have enough people in the tax net. Nobody pays taxes apart from the corporations and paid workers in organized
but that is also one of my
institutions.
worries,
yes.
That every time we're talking about generating more money, the first thing that comes to mind is tax. It's the
only source of revenue for any government in the world. It's taxation. So what you need to do, the problem we have in Nigeria is that it's only a few people that are paying the taxes that are bringing all of the money in. We have too many people outside of the tax net. So the FIRS needs to find ingenious and creative ways to suck in the ordinary Nigerian into the tax net so that you have a large base of revenue coming to the government, apart from excise duties and all of that, customs, tariffs and all that. It's taxes. So bring people in. When you generate enough revenue, you can borrow as much as you want, as long as it's within your debt service obligations, is within a percentage, a decent percentage, not more than 10 to 15% of your overall revenue should be going into debt service.
How do we finance, the debt financing? How does that go, and how does that affect our year-to-year budget?
As it is now, the government would issue bonds or T-bills and all that to try and meet its debt service and other obligations. And, that is further debt. So you are basically using debt to finance debt.
Yes.
So it's not good.
Okay, all right, Mr. Otabi. Do you also think
No, you know,
we should keep borrowing.
Well, like I said, it's not bad to borrow, but when the money you are making is not up to the amount you are even using to, you know, like this year now, we are using about 2.3 trillion to service debt.
Yeah.
That's about 68% of our budget, 8.9. You can imagine what 2.3 trillion could do. You know, and well, the government will tell you, even though what's her name, Miriam, the finance minister, when she's comparing us to Brazil and the rest of it, maybe she's looking at their situation is far different from ours.
They're not even comparing our revenue profile.
You know, so I think it's about priorities, one, and secondly about management of the resources you have. Now we are talking about taxes. FRS has not even scratched the surface of the tax potential of this country. Like he said, just the usual suspects are the ones in the net. But have you expanded it? If you expand it enough, for crying out loud, we may not even need to borrow. That's on the one hand. Then again, the government itself, what is the government doing? Because the people you are going to tax, they have to be alive, right? They have to have eaten. They have to live. If you can't tax dead people now. Do you understand? So the government itself needs to do something to get the economy working.
Okay.
You know, and then finally, of course, the usual problem, corruption. Look, we are talking now, you know, the kind of money that comes, even on those highways, the kind of money they generate, are they using it even for the people?
It doesn't go back.
It doesn't go down.
System.
You know, I'm sorry, I know Michael needs to talk. You know, very quickly, I saw a tweet yesterday, somebody analyzing our budget, the budget for 2019.
I saw it too.
It's crazy, you know, so that's what he's talking about.
Amen.
This debt we're talking about, I have no problems with debt if you're using it to finance infrastructure. But when you have a budget that is 8-point-something trillion,
8.9.
and in that 8.9 trillion, they're buying cars. They bought cars last year for every agency. Every year they're buying computers, they're buying cars.
Some dead institutions.
The same projects.
Captured in that budget, and you wonder what are they doing?
Patience, the same projects from last year are the ones that are in this same budget.
I get what you're saying.
So what are we talking about?
What your budget?
All right, let's let Michael.
No, on the final note, your budget is a copy and paste. It's a copy and paste.
Heartbreaking. Michael, quickly.
Well, like they have said, the truth of the matter is there's no problem in borrowing. But the issue is, what are you doing with the money? Are you using it for development? If you have to borrow, when you say tax is the only way every government grows, I say no. When you borrow, okay, what infrastructures have you been able to put down? Like he said, do we have industries that are working? We are more of a consuming nation than an exporting nation. Because if you are not a consuming, if you are a producing country, the tax on the people would be less, and then people would be more comfortable and understand that they would need to pay the tax. But a situation whereby they do not even have the jobs, and you want to tax them, how? Where do you want them to get the monies from? So for me, the problem has always been, number one, we are a consuming nation. We are not a manufacturing nation. And then secondly, you have an issue whereby every day our government wants to buy new cars for people that are not doing anything. So what are we saying in essence? At this point, borrowing is not our problem. Our problem is, let us have the structures right. Let us put in place those things that would make us an exporting nation and give people work. Then you can tax them.
And let's have accountability, you know, in government, so that we know that what money is being budgeted is the money being spent. Something is very fishy about that budget.
Very fishy. Very fishy.
As always.
I mean, I saw the tweet you're talking. It was a thread.
Yeah. Yes,
and
a long
every
thread.
step of the way,
A long thread.
you know, like it made me like look stupid because I'm like really?
Exactly.
This must be going on.
Yes, I think it's a copy and paste now.
Something timely has to be done. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming out today. Thank you, Michael Odion. Thank you, Mr. Christopher Taigbe. Thank you, Mr. Shegun Shopito. Thank you, viewers, for being a part of the show. Tomorrow at same time, we'll be back on Galaxy. Make it a date. Have yourself a good day. Bye-bye.